Hello guys. So in this session we are going to learn how to create an Amazon EKS cluster from scratch using eksctl. So let's start. So first of all we need an instance. So as you can see here, I have successfully launched one instance and the operating system is Ubuntu. So we are going to creating Amazon EKS cluster for using eksctl. So as you can see here, this is my article. So I'm going to follow this article. So first of all here, as you can see, the first step we need to install eksctl CLI tool for creating EKS cluster on Amazon, right? Okay, so here use below command to download eksctl. So if you want to download the latest eksctl tool, so you can visit this official page. So you can follow the article. So I'm going to copy the command and paste here. Okay. Then after that, the next command is here. Move eksctl setup to this directory. So let's move this into this directory. Okay. Then next is if you want to check the eksctl version, then you can run this command to check your eksctl version. After that, below our eksctl help command. If you want to check the help, so if you can run the command eksctl help. So you can see here the commands. So you can see the command eksctl anywhere, that means EKS anywhere, then eksctl associate resource with a cluster, then completion, general shell, and create, delete, deregister, deassociate, drain, enable, get, help, into, register, scale, and so on. So you can run this command eksctl help, then if you want to help, then after that if you want to create cluster, then if you don't know how to create, then the command is here for help. So you can run the command. As you can see, eksctl create cluster help. Then as you can see the instruction, so you can easily create cluster, right? You can see eksctl cluster, create cluster, and the flags, right? So you can run the command if you don't know. So I'm going to clear my screen. Okay. Now the next step is install kubectl on Ubuntu. So let's run this command to add the GPG keys. So I'm going to copy this command to add my GPG keys. Okay, it's done. Now the next is create apt repo in kubectl. So I'm going to creating using this command. Okay, it's done. If I run the ls command, there is no any folder. Okay. Now add Kubernetes official apt repository. So let's run this command to add Kubernetes official repository. Okay, it's also done. Now let's update our system package. Now let's install kubectl using this command. So it's done. Now let's clear the screen first. Let's install kubectl. Okay, it's also done. Now let's clear the screen first. Okay. Now the next step, we need a AWS CLI on Ubuntu. So we need to install AWS CLI. So first of all, download the AWS CLI bundle using the below command, right? So let's download first. Okay, it's done. Now if I run the ls command, as you can see the zip file. So first of all, we need to install unzip package. So how to install? Sudo apt install unzip. Okay, it's done. So now let's clear the screen, and now let's unzip this package. So how to unzip? So the command is here, sudo unzip and the package name. If I run the ls command, you can see. So let's run the command here, sudo unzip and our unzip package name. As you can see, it's extracting. Okay, now it's done. If I run the ls command, you can see the folder that we have successfully extracted, the AWS, right? If I go to the AWS, you can see the folders. Okay, now let's clear the screen first. Okay, we have successfully installed AWS, right? Okay, now if you want to, uh, we have successfully extracted our AWS folder. Now we are going to install AWS using this command. So let's install AWS. Okay, now here you can see, you can now run this. If I run the command here, then as you can see the version of our AWS CLI. That means you have successfully installed AWS on Ubuntu 22.04 LTS. Okay, it's done. Now the next step is create IAM user with full S3 EC2 route 53 and VPC access in AWS. Right? Okay. For what? Here, why we need IAM user here? Because we need a access AWS. Here you can see we need a AWS access key ID and AWS secret access key ID. We need this both. So here, if I run the AWS configure command, as you can see, it asking me AWS access key ID, then AWS secret access key ID. After that, default region name and default object format, right? Okay, so for that we need a AWS access key ID and AWS secret access key ID. So if you have a user in your AWS, then you can go to the here your username and go to the security credentials. If you don't have any user, then first of all you need to create a user. I am user, right? But here I have a account with the name DevOps Shweta. So for that, I'm going to this security credentials, and here I'm going to create new access key ID as well as secret access key ID. So how to create? So first of all, go to the security credentials here, then okay. So as you can see here, this is my secret credentials. If I scroll down here, and as you can see, access key, right? So I'm going to create new access key. Okay, so let's create. So click on create, and here it will ask for reason why you creating access key ID. So I'm going to choose other, and then next. The description is optional. If you don't want to add any description here, then you can skip it. Create access key. Okay, as you can see here, retrieve access key. So first, if you want, then you can download the CSV file, right? Because you can see here, if you lose or forget your access key, you cannot retrieve it. Instead, create a new access key and make the old key inactive, right? So for that, download.csv file. Okay. Now I'm going to my command. Here I'm going to enter a command AWS configure. Now it will ask me AWS access key ID. So I'm going to copy my access key ID and enter. Then secret access key ID. So I'm going to copy my secret access key ID. Then AWS default region name. So my region name is AP South 1. As you can see here, my region is Mumbai and the region is AP South hyphen 1. And default output format, so I'm going to skip it. Okay, it's done. Okay, now it's done. Now let's take the next step. So now next step is create EKS cluster in AWS eksctl, right? So how to create? So here's the command. So in command, as you can see, eksctl create cluster name demo cluster, right? In cluster demo cluster, then region AP South 1, right? Version is here, and node group name and node type T2 micro and node 2, right? That means here in instance there are two instance will create. Okay, so as of now, as you can see here, I have only one instance, right? Now if I go to the EKS Elastic Kubernetes Service, I'm going to open a new tab. So as you can see here, you can see here add cluster, right? That means there is no any cluster as of now. If I click on add cluster, then here create new cluster. See, so we need to fill this, then next, right? That means as of now we don't have any cluster here, right? See, zero cluster, right? Now when we run this command, so there is a cluster with the name demo EKS cluster. Then there is two instance node 1 and node 2, right? Okay, so now I'm going to run this command to create EKS cluster in AWS using eksctl, right? That's the command to create EKS cluster in AWS using eksctl. So I'm going to copy my command and I'm going to paste here. Okay, sorry. As you can see in command, version 1.21 is no longer supported, right? Because it's updated. So I'm going to my cluster, and if I add cluster, create, and let's check the version. As you can see, the supported by Amazon EKS until 1.23 and the default is 1.27, right? Okay, 1.27. Okay, now let's update our command version 1.27. Okay, then enter. Wait a second. Okay, so I'm going to copy this command to create my cluster in AWS using eksctl. So if you want to rename your cluster, then you can rename. So I'm going to rename my cluster name with demo1 EKS cluster. The region is AP South 1, right? And after that, then the node group name is Linux nodes and node type t2.micro, then node 2, right? That means the our instance type, right? t2.micro. Okay, so I'm going to create it. So as you can see, it's creating. You can see firstly building cluster stack, then deploying stack. So it takes some time to create our cluster. So our cluster name is demo1 cluster, right? So as you can see, wait for control plane to become ready. So create manage node group Linux nodes. So it takes some time to create our cluster. So if I go to my cluster here and if I refresh the page, so as you can see, demo1 EKS cluster and the status is creating. And as you can see, the version 1.27, that's the default and the provider is EKS, right? Okay. If I click on this, as you can see, it's creating and the details as you can see here. So that's the cluster. So it takes some time to create. So wait for a few seconds. It takes some time to creating. So as you can see here, here it's done. As you can see, EKS cluster demo one EKS cluster in AP South 1 region is ready, right? So you can see here, kubectl command should work with this. Try kubectl get nodes, and as you can see, node 1 is ready, node 2 is ready, right? So let's check, and as you can see, all EKS cluster resources for demo1 EKS cluster have been created. So let's check. So first of all, go to the cluster, and if I refresh the page, as you can see, the status is active, right? Okay. If I go to my instance, as of now we have only one instance. If I refresh the page, then let's check. So as you can see, there is two more instance with the name demo1 cluster Linux node and demo1 cluster Linux node, node 1, node 2. As you can see, there is two instances, right? Okay. Now here if I go to my cluster and go to the here cluster I am role on, right? So here you can see the role July 3 July created timing, right? And the permission, there is four policies here, right? So that's the I am role in cluster. That means we have successfully created our EKS cluster, right? Okay, here let's run this command kubectl get node. So first of all, I'm going to clear the screen. Okay, so as you can see here, the node first and the second, right? Okay, okay, right, you can see the node 1 and the node second. As you can see the IP address, right? Okay, now here if I run this command kubectl get namespace, so as you can see, kubectl node active, then kube public, then kube system, right? As you can see, and after that here, if I run this kubectl describe and the IP describe nodes. So as you can see the detail about your node, you can see the DOM capacity, CPU, then allocable, then system information, then provider and the allocated resources, then events and so on. So you can see the details about your nodes, right? Okay, now let's clear the screen first. Okay, now it's done, right? Here we have successfully create our EKS cluster in AWS, right? Here we have successfully created EKS cluster using eksctl, right? So thank you for watching.